Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. What we're looking at is the hairpin lace, and this is a different form of crochet. I have had several requests for me to do this, so I finally picked it up and said today's the day. So this is what it looks like. This is just one standard panel. Now mind you that when it comes to hairpin lace, this is just the stitch itself, okay? This is just one panel. Now to make a project, you have to assemble panels and do different techniques to put these together to make different projects or do different types of stitches with it. This is not a pattern of any sort. This is only teaching you how to use the actual hairpin lace piece and how to get this panel itself. When you're working with a hairpin lace stitch, your pattern will tell you how many loops that you will be working with. On this particular piece here, I did 35 loops. Now when you read your pattern that you're working with, your pattern will mention how many loops you have to have. That means if your pattern calls for, let's say, 50 loops, that means that you will have to do 50 loops per side, not 50 loops altogether. It means you will have to make 50 loops on this side, 50 loops on this side. So basically what we're going to do is, I'm going to demonstrate how to make your loops, and that comes into play with how to put all of the hairpin lace stitch itself together. And it's really not that hard. It's all about technique and really formation of how you hold your hairpin lace, and it really does come together. So it's all about how you actually put this together, as I said. So let's get started with that. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your hairpin lace, and basically what I have is my two ends here. You see you have different holes here at the ends, and I have mine sectioned, my two poles here, or metal pieces. I have them on the very end holes on the ends of both. So that's how we're going to work that, and you want them as even as possible. So I'm using a 4-weight yarn, and I'm using just a standard 5mm hook. You can use whatever you like. It will give you a different size stitch, of course. So the first thing that you're wanting to do here is you want to take your yarn, and your end yarn is going to go on your left side. So you want to pick your hairpin lace up, and you want to lay it down over the top of your yarn, just like this. Now your working end of your yarn, the yarn that is attached still closest to your skein of yarn, is, and you want to keep it towards the middle, you want to grab that yarn and you want to just cross your hairpin lace. Now you want to take the opposite end, which is your loose end, and you want to cross back over, where you're going to make an X, okay? And you want to have a little tail here, because we're going to use that to tie up a knot, okay? So again, as I said, you want to start off in the center point of your loom. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull that just a little bit, and now what you're going to do is grab in the center point here, and I'm hoping you guys can see me real good. I'm trying to keep it spaced out a little bit where you can see everything. So you're going to grab it here, and you're going to take this tail and you're going to tuck it all underneath, okay? And you're going to pull that tail just like that, and now you're going to pick this end up, and now we're just going to tie it into a simple knot. You want to keep that knot right in the center of the loom, okay? So you want to make sure that that's good and tight. And then once you've done that, you can just leave that little tail there, but you want to take the working yarn that you're going to be working with, and let me scooch my film back here a little bit. You want to take this and you want to go behind your loom now to where it comes back over to your left hand side. Okay, so now you've got your setup complete, and you want to keep your knot that you made always in the center of your loom. Alright, so always keep that in the center of your loom, and as we're working our stitches, you want to be working closest to that center knot. You want to keep your stitches going down the center of this loom at all times, okay? So if you look at the piece that I did, it's like a little centipede. But if you see the piece that I did, you see how my stitches are going straight down the center? That's what you want to do. That's the point of keeping the knot and the stitches working close together. So now you want to pick up your hook, and I'm just going to come down just a little bit so you can see what I'm going to do. So now the first thing you want to do is you're going to have to be moving this loom, okay? So it's not going to stay perfectly still. So you want to pick it up and you want to hold it into your hand. Now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your hook and you're going to insert it in between those two loops. Okay, you're always going to work in between the loops. You're going to grab that yarn. So we're just going to grab that yarn and you're going to pull up. So you're going to have a loop on your hook. Okay, now again you want to stay close to that center knot. And now what you're going to do is you're just going to simply yarn over. So go under that yarn, and then you just want to pull that yarn right through, and you've made your first stitch. Okay, so that's very simple. You've made your very first stitch. Now here is the, I guess what a lot of people would call the tricky part. It's not really tricky. This is just the technical part. I'm going to space back a little bit here so you can see the whole loom. Now what you're going to do each time you make a stitch is you're going to take your hook. You're going to take your hook and you're going to point it downward. Okay, and then you're going to stand your loom up. You're going to let your hook fall to the back, just like that. And then you're going to hold on to this feeding yarn here. You don't want it to be real skin tight here, but you do want to grasp it and keep it firm. Then you're going to turn your loom. And that's what's going to give you that loop. So that made you a loop here, so now you're going to have to make your loop on the other side as well. Now to do that, alright, well that made your loop over here already. So now what you're going to do at that point is you're going to space these loops down that we've already worked with. And they may be just a little jumbled to start with, so you're going to have to situate them. There we go. And the loop that you're working with is going to be on top. Now what you want to do, let me zoom back down. So you're now going to have this first loop here that's on top. You're going to do just like we did before. You're going to go in between the loops. You're going to grab that yarn and pull up. Now you're going to have two loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull that yarn through both of those loops. And now you made your second stitch. Okay, so now if you look on this side, you're going to have two loops. And if you look on this side, you've got two loops. So now you're even on both sides. So now what you're going to do again, you're going to take your hook and you're going to point it down, and then you're just going to let it fall backwards. Okay, and then you're going to turn. So there's your third loop, and you're just going to slide that loop up, and now you're just going to now work and make this third loop over here. So you'll pull these loops down, and then you'll start working underneath this loop. So you see this loop here? You want to work in between the loop, go underneath, grab that working yarn and pull up, and then yarn over and pull through both of those loops. Okay? So then you want to drop your hook then, and it'll fall back just like that, and then you will turn. Okay, and now you'll see you have 3 hoops on each side. Okay, I'm going to slide back a bit. And that's pretty much what you're going to be doing for your hairpin lace. Now as you make your loops, you want to slide them down because they're going to start building up. Okay, so again, you can separate these loops so you can figure out which one you're working with here. And we're working always with the top loop. So again, you want to go in between those 2 loops. Grab my yarn here. Go in between your 2 loops here. Grab that yarn and pull up a loop. Grab that yarn again, which is yarn over, and pull through both of these loops. Okay, and then you want to point your hook down and let it fall back where it stands back up straight again, and then turn. And then you should just be right on the money there with your hook. And then you just start your process over. And see, it makes a loop on this side, and then you have to make your loop on this side. Okay? So then you go up into that loop in between those 2 loops. Grab your yarn, pull up, yarn over, and pull through both loops. Making sure that all those stitches are lining up dead center, okay? So now turn your hook, point down, and let your hook fall back. Grab it and turn your loom. Okay, and you can bring your stitches down. Separate that top one if you need to. And go in between your loops. Grab that yarn, pull up. Now you have 2 on your hook. Yarn over and pull through both of those. Okay, point your hook down, let it fall back, and grab it. Turn your loom, and you've made another stitch. And then that's what you just keep doing. You'll keep doing that process, and then this is what you will end up with. And it seems a little awkward to do that, but it does become a habit. So I actually did this in like less than 5 minutes. So again, you just go in between your loops, grab your yarn, pull up, yarn over, and pull through both of those loops. Point your hook down, let it fall back, and grab it. Turn your loom and just go at that again. Go in between those loops, grab your yarn, pull up, yarn over, pull through both. Drop your hook down and then let it fall back. Grab it and turn your loom. And then you just keep repeating that process. And again, if your pattern calls for 200 loops, you do 200 on this side, you do 200 on that side. If it calls for 10, you do 10 on this side, 10 on that side. It's not 100 loops all together, it's 100 loops per side. So it's whatever your pattern calls for. You do that many on each side. Just keep that in mind. And make sure when you're turning it, you don't put your turn-in loop way down here. You always put your turn-in loop up at the top. Okay? So you just keep on going. And I'm going to do a couple more of these. And then we are going to finish. I'm going to show you how to finish it off. And we'll take it off the loom. And like I said, it's very simple. You just have to, it's one of those procedures you just have to Once you get into the nook of it, it's like habit forming. Almost one of those you could do with your eyes closed. And it can be addictive. Once you get into it, it can be very addictive. Okay, so I'm going to do this last one here. Okay. So now I'm going to drop my hook. I'm going to turn. And now to finish off, all you're going to do is just do like you normally would. You're going to go in between those loops, grab your yarn over, single crochet. Then you're going to leave yourself a tail and finish that off. And all you're going to do is pull that through like you normally would. And then what you will do to take that off is you will pull off one end of your loom. Okay, and let me go back a bit. And then what you'll do is just pull this off, and it slides right off. And some people will roll it to store it until you're ready to use it. And that way that the loops don't get knotted, that they don't get messed up. They just roll it up like this. And that's just an easier way to store it so that it doesn't get messed up. And that is a perfect example of your hairpin lace. Okie dokie. And I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and that's it simply. Just work with it and get the procedure down pat, and I promise it would just come naturally. It's very simple to do. And until next video, guys, happy hooking.